In a world of crypto, where the future's bright, voices rise like echoes. In a soulful light, wisdom sharing whispers through the digital sphere, guiding paths of freedom, bringing vision clear. Echo, echo, hear the sound. Voices lifting off the ground in the blockchain silent stream. Echoes of a crypto dream. Conversations flowing like the river's blood. Black women in the forefront, strength and pride. Navigating markets, breaking down the walls in the world of finance. Answering the calls.
Echo, echo, echo. Welcome, welcome, welcome to BK Crypto Echo, where we echo the sounds and voices of mostly women in technology, blockchain, and all sorts of other industries. And I am your host, Kimberly, aka That Black Crypto Chick, and I have my lovely co-host,
RB Rising one on
RB.
IG.
That's true. That's true. RB Rising One is in the house, and otherwise known as Rashona. And before we get into today's show, I want you to take a moment to please do us a favor and click the like button and follow us so that you can be notified. Exactly. So you can be notified when we go live because it really helps us. It helps the show. It helps the algorithm. So we hope you'll do us that favor and just click a like and follow. Okay. So today,
Yes,
it's been an interesting month. There's been a lot of stuff going on
it
in the
is.
news. I was doing a little bit of a rally, right? So
Yep.
what
But
can we tell the
before we
people?
get into,
What?
but,
Mhm.
but before we get, I can't remember, we're chopping up. Listen, we have one person in London, Paris. I'm in BK. Uh, we have this Hurricane Helen, and I pray that everyone is well and everyone is safe from Helen. She came for a new beginning, to clean things out for a new beginning. And talking about cleaning things out, before we jump into the news about crypto and what's happening in this election, I want us to get into the energy of what we're preparing for and the celebration of where we are. We have officially ended summer. And if you are planting your seeds, it is fall, it is harvest time. It is gathering the fruits of your labor. But on the spiritual side, it's about spiritual growth and salvation, right? And so I want you to sit with that, because when seasons change, we also must adapt with those changes in our human expression. And while we're at September 29th, we are moving into a new month, October. And October is all about balance and harmony. It's about ending the old and bringing in the new. So, what are you going to end and cleanse? And what new are you going to bring? Whether it's with yourself, right? Self love, whether it's about your investments, whether it's about your family, whether it's about your business, whether it's about learning something new. And when we move in from the fall to winter, we're also going to move in a space of hibernation. So, again, you have time to relax, right? So let's break down real quick October before we get into, because I want us to really sit in this energy and start to really think about what we want to release and what do we want to bring in new, right?
Mhm.
So balance, transformation, also bringing in new dimensions, right? New realms and accelerating ascension. But it's also about spiritual power and manifestations in October. We think about the 10 and the 1 as new beginnings. So when you think about this in this new month of completion and harmony and balance, what are you going to bring into your life that brings harmony and balance? Think about that, because when we talk about what's happening in the news, if you plant your seeds, after you plant your seeds and reap the harvest and really hibernate for next year, I guarantee you 2025 is going to be the best year of your life. So let's get into the news, because this is in preparation of what's happening. Super excited.
Before we get into the news, I just want to say that for myself, I'm really just going to release some negativity that's been
Mm.
my peripheral as of late. So I'm just going to release that and let it go because you know what? I'm untouchable, right? I'm untouchable. And I'm going to welcome in all of God's glory for the coming year, for the coming years, because I know my future is bright and the future is bright for all of those around me. So, ashe, ashe, ashe on that one. There you
Ashe,
go.
ashe. Yes,
Right.
I love it.
Okay. Let's get yes,
Let's
girl.
get that.
Because we were having a little
I
conversation before this
feel it.
started. There you go. There you go. And I'm letting it go. Okay. So, what is happening in the news today? I know Bitcoin was doing a little bit of a rally. It went from like when it started going up a
It
little
was
bit.
like
Didn't
50
it?
something
Like
to 65,000.
mm-hmm.
66,000,
Yeah.
100%. And
Yeah.
of course, anybody who made investments are seeing their altcoins jumping and moving as well, right?
That's true. That's true.
So
I'm
it's
trying not to
what that
look.
was.
What?
That was called a tease, right? That's a tease. So for those who've been dumping or getting scared about the news and them trying to clear out the retailers, baby, don't
You know,
fall for the hope joke.
I saw a conversation on Twitter the other day, and it was a conversation about ETH, right? Ethereum. And people were just like, oh, it's funny. Then I immediately went to the comments to see, people like, oh God, getting rid of ETH and everything. And I immediately went to the comments, and a number of people were just like, they do this every time, right? Like this. And I said, I know, because that's like when I got into ETH, it had gone down to like 80 something dollars, and it was being bashed in the media and everything. I said, you know what? No, I'm buying that right now. And so that was one of the very, very good deals I had. So people, sometimes it's best that you just step away, disengage, and don't pay attention to what's going on in the
Agreed.
market.
Agreed.
That way
Don't
you
check
don't.
your account. Don't be like
Yeah,
us. Don't check your account every day. Don't do it to yourself.
that's true. That's true. No, I mean, heck, I'm over here in France right now. I'm surely not checking stuff often, huh?
Yeah, this is tips and tricks to enjoy the journey, right? Trick or treat. Listen,
You said
if you
trick or
want to
treat.
enjoy the treats, yes, trick or treat. If you want to enjoy the treats, don't tap in.
That's
Don't keep
true.
checking. Listen, don't keep checking your account at
Right.
all. You will sleep better at night. Don't put on the news. Don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's trust. Trust process. Know that you've invested in something long term and just ride the wave because they have something big happening in the end of the year and next year. Right, Em? So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, hold tight. Hold tight. Because if you think that this was jumping 66,000 and what they got planned, baby, it's a whole life change.
There's some predictions, and for those of you who are new, we really like to talk to you. There's a gentleman you can find him on YouTube. He's a really good macro economist. His name is Raoul Paul. Raoul Paul.
Love him.
Yeah, I love him too. So if you find him and just try to absorb some of his information because he has a lot of great information to share. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about the scarcity of Bitcoin. A lot of Bitcoin has been coming off of exchanges over this past week, months for that matter. So what does the scarcity mean?
And it's interesting because all this news is happening that now also in Asia, you have a large companies, and I don't remember the name, you can Google it, that actually is now like the fourth largest owner of Bitcoin. So now you have the Asian market.
Bhutan. I think that's a country, Bhutan.
Yes,
right?
thank you. Yep. Who's now accumulated. So this just means that more of the private sectors, the governments, of course, the globe is jumping in on this trend because they know that this is now going to be their ability to control the rest of the world. And I'm not saying it to be negative. I'm saying that it's a game being played. And if you see that the dollars are no longer the end thing, you got to accumulate what's next. And so when we talk about scarcity, if we talk about supply and demand, when we have scarcity, let's think about the energy what was happening in 2020. right? And let's be funny here. The scarcity was what? Toilet paper. How many people started going to get toilet paper because they were saying that we're running out? Do you remember
I
that?
got a lot of toilet paper in January of that year.
Right?
I did it. I was telling
Because
everybody, you know what, you might need it here. Even before they said to do whatever, I was just paying attention to what was going on in the news over yonder. And I said, y'all might want to, go stock up. So I was one of those girls.
and I say that simply so that everyone can understand.
Yeah.
That's scarcity. And that drove up the price of toilet paper. So if we parallel that concept and that idea with toilet paper into Bitcoin and scarcity, this only means that if you own it, you're going to benefit because it's going to go up because it's creating scarcity. Period.
So Michael Saylor, he is very confident about how Bitcoin mining is the idea of Bitcoin mining. It's being relegated to a lot of nations and corporations. What are your thoughts on that? Because like these days, the average person like you and I can't mine Bitcoin anymore. Because it's so difficult at this stage of the game. So what are your thoughts on
And the
that?
percentage that most people are getting on, it's not even worth anymore. I think a lot of times when it comes to trend, as we know time too, because we know about mining, we know about having nodes, and it's basically having passive income working for yourself pretty much on your computer, desktop, and so forth. So it was a great hustle, but now it's becoming more costly and not as effective as bringing passive income to you. So most of our miners that we do know who got in the game early, when we talk about how do we share to the community what to invest in next, they don't recommend mining it because it's not beneficial. Meaning Bitcoin, it's not beneficial anymore, not only because of the halving, but because the amount it would take to actually produce some significance, right? There are other ways to collect passively with nodes and other things I think you can mine that are not just Bitcoin, even Casper at a lower entry level. So mining Bitcoin, honestly, from the experts who have been mining that we know in our community, they don't suggest it. They don't suggest it for normal people now who really can't afford it. But there are other ways to benefit in this market, and that's getting in early, on a project, doing your research, understanding who the companies that's behind it. It's also looking into nodes, literally getting paid for using your bandwidth. Your bandwidth, right? Your networking, you're literally setting your computer and getting paid for it. So there's several ways to really gain passive income in this time. I think that's the benefit of technology. And yes, it's good to hold Bitcoin if you can, but there are other coins that are just as significant that can help you create what I want to say, generational wealth, or minimize cross-border payments and life-changing events. Right? Do your research. This is a great time. This is an amazing time. Even stocks. This is an amazing time. It's changing the evolution of the concept of wealth.
Yeah, the fact that you mentioned stocks is good because many people who are into traditional financial tools, they should pay attention to the fact that when we had the demic, and such, stocks actually rallied. So
Yes.
if there's something that you want to get into, you might want to take a look. Because
Yeah.
because as the Fed and other governments, China and so forth, as they pump money into the system, people who don't necessarily
Yes.
need money are going to
Reducing those
deploy.
interest rates.
Yes, exactly. So they're going to deploy those funds into assets. So
Yes.
pay
And
attention
just
to
real quick to your point, what you're saying, just to give
Mhm.
an entry to what's happening with the feds and the cuts. A lot might understand what's happening, but in short, and Ansel from BK Crypto really explained that really quickly, is the feds reducing the interest rates. It's just giving them more access to pump more money into banks and giving more money to lend, because the more they lend money, the more they make money.
Mhm.
So that's really what's happening. So I would say once we really start to understand the system that we live in,
Mhm.
and I want to say something positive because it was
Mhm.
something I was listening to. Actually, I think it was 19 Keys, and a gentleman, he was talking about credit, but he talked about credit, consumer law, and credit, and understand how to work the two to benefit you in the system. Oh, I want to say his name, Durain. I will find it, but just 19 Keys had a conversation with him. I think it was a couple of days ago. He talked about consumer law and understanding the laws that were governed by us. And that he said, America's not that it's bad. You have to understand the system. He's from Jamaica, and he was discussing like when he realized America in this system, when he came from Jamaica, he not only went back to Jamaica to pour back into his country, he started connecting to the people who started coming in his country to building, right? Like the Chinese and the Indians, to connect with them. So if America is where we are now and it's the land of opportunity, then why are we not learning the system to benefit off the opportunity versus being a victim,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That makes
So
sense.
it's understanding the system, the laws that are in place that we can really now benefit from as a
Mhm.
community, as brown and black people. I just wanted to say that because I think there's too much negativity on America, and we don't look at it on the other side, how beneficial it is to be here if you look at it on another lens as to how does this system work and how does it work for me? How do I build my credit? How do I build my business?
Mhm.
How do I make the right investments, right? What are the laws that are governed by the Constitution? That's all I want to say.
Mhm. Mhm. There you go. There
In
you
the
go.
land.
What's it called?
No, I said
What's it
and
called?
also in the land,
In the land. That's
land.
true.
Yeah.
Land ownership.
Mhm.
Land ownership is important. Okay, so I saw something in the news about uh, President hopeful Kamala Harris. Apparently, she supports some aspect of cryptocurrency. Are you familiar with that?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm in and
Uh-huh.
out when it comes to this election. All I can say from me listening to the news and in our report here says U.S. Senator Kamara has expressed support for cryptocurrency, boosts investors' confidence. Again, this is just my perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I be at the 0 point where I'm not emotional by what's happening. I'm gonna be so
Yeah, me
straightforward
neither.
because then it messes up the focus of where I'm at. Right? There's a game being played on whether it's Kamala or Trump, and we have to understand the synergy and energy behind both.
Mhm.
People might not like what I'm saying, so I try to understand the positions that both of them might play in this
Mhm.
series and how will that affect me or us as a community on what we're thriving towards, right? But
Mhm.
I really try to stay at the 0 point just so I'm clear
Mhm.
on what's happening and also not to get distracted,
Mhm. Mhm.
to be
That's true.
honest.
That's true.
So when we hear someone has chose to cryptocurrency, it's because it's a narrative that they can't run from.
Mhm.
Whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala,
Mhm.
it's the same thing when it came to the World Wide Web. Technology can't be pushed. It could possibly be manipulated, but it can't be controlled because it's technology and evolves. So
Mhm. Mhm.
you're going to have to stand somewhere where it's something you really can't control,
Mhm. That's true.
especially when the people is demanding it. And the truth is, the people are the ones that govern the system, but we don't remember that. But anyway, I digress.
Well, you're
So
like you say the people, but it's not just the people, but a lot of the businesses, honestly,
the businesses. Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Yep.
are
Yep.
heavily
Yep.
controlled.
And
Okay.
so with that, we see a change happening. And so if we're seeing the presidents who are running to be elected talking
Potential
about crypto,
president, the
because
potential president,
what
the
potential, yes,
potential
potential
president.
presidents chosen to be elected, then you need to see the narrative and the trends of what's really happening
Mhm.
behind
Yeah,
the scenes.
yeah,
Don't miss
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's one thing we always say at BK Crypto. We just encourage people to do a bit of research and don't leave it to your major news outlets. Again, I always say Crypto Panic is a good news aggregator, but otherwise, just go on YouTube. Go on YouTube. There's so many news sources. I mentioned Raoul Paul, Powell, Crypto Banter. Heck, contact BK Crypto. We'll direct you to some outlets, plenty of news sources. But any of it.
I don't
So
know if you have. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that there were a considerable number of inflows into the ETFs again. See, all this stuff is taking place very quietly.
But yes. And so the ETFs, you have ItBits, right? You have MicroStrategy, you have even Riot. Pretty much it's like if you don't want to invest in the real thing like gold or silver, there's your ETFs, right? And it's the same thing for Bitcoin. So if we know that Bitcoin is going to go up and you like stocks, then maybe you might want to look at the top companies that hold Bitcoin in the ETF. It's just strategy. It's honestly a
Or an ETF,
strategy,
yeah.
And I think news recently, I think Ansel posted it. I don't know if we have it in, but he said recently it was like U.S. financial institutions are currently testing Bitcoin-backed lending. Let me
Oh
read that
yes,
again
yes,
for
yes, yes,
you.
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Say it again for
U.S.
the people in the back.
financial institutions are currently testing Bitcoin-backed lending. And let me just talk about the companies that are doing that. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and JP Morgan. And let me just reiterate, no, actually, let me just quote this. In 2018, JP Morgan said that Bitcoin was fake.
Mhm.
And in 2019, he basically said, I made a mistake. You can Google this, you can find it in the news.
Well, we already knew. Beyond that, the institution of which he heads was acquiring Bitcoin since 2013.
Hello,
So
but they're all in the same club. Citibank did
I
the
know.
same thing, right?
Yeah.
People, this is a club.
Mhm. And they don't want you in it. So you could, you could. So
You
they,
know?
mhm. Yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. So
Yep. Go ahead.
CZ, the former head of Binance, was released apparently. Did you hear about that one?
Interesting. Did his coin? I didn't hear about that, but did his coin
Oh,
go up? Did his meme
I
coin
don't
go up?
know, girl. And I had that coin, but I got rid of it. Huh? I don't know if it went up.
Yeah,
I should speak to. There's a member, a PK member who.
nowadays,
Go ahead.
everything is parabolic. All the meme coins that have no utility backed up, and I'm not knocking it because you know what? It's a trend. And so, if that trend is helping you to build some type of worth, minimize your debt and build into legacy, then go for it. But do your research and know when to get in and to get out.
Definitely get
Period.
out. Mhm. Definitely get out. Because meme
Yes,
coins is
we
funny.
knew he would get
Meme
out. He
coins.
paid the piper.
Yeah. Meme coins have really like been at the forefront of this run since last fall. Like a year now, right? The meme coins have really been running a lot, but I probably say that now might not be the time to get any meme coins. But they have rallied a lot. They've made a lot of people a lot of money. I believe there'll still be a narrative in the future, but it's not something they're not going to hold long term. You know what I mean? So be willing to get in and get out. So yeah, but I honestly don't know. Last thing I read about CZ, God, how many earlier this year, he was starting some sort of a nonprofit, if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna look into that. I don't know. I mean, there's a new head of Binance right now, so I don't really know what the significance of his release was. So I was wondering if you had heard anything on
We
that.
didn't feel in the market yet, and I didn't honestly. I didn't even hear it.
Oh,
That's
okay,
interesting.
okay.
But maybe I
Okay.
was tapped into looking at my coins and seeing what the next project is coming up. I've been waiting for. Should we announce
Okay.
that?
Okay.
But listen, you know what? When you think about the trends, and we always say
Okay.
diversify your portfolio
Yeah.
and don't put your eggs all in one basket. But at the same time, choose not
Yeah.
to have the basket so full that you really can't benefit off of. Oh my God, I'm losing.
Of
You
your
can't benefit
holdings.
off of the rush, right?
Right. Or at least
The
it's not going to be that much, yeah, that you'll experience. It
right,
really
right.
depends on how
I'm
much
like,
you
what do I
hold.
lose my words for? But yes, to benefit off of that. And so we always say, make sure you have a certain amount of coins that's going to be life changing for you, and understand what that actually means. What is life changing for you? Is it
Who knows?
100,000?
Maybe it's just getting out of the
Is
debt.
it millions?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
Huh?
it's just getting out of debt.
Right? No, right. And to understand that. And so we like to look at trends that's happening, and a lot of the talk that's happening right now is all about DePIN,
That's true.
right? Yep,
I'm getting
decentralized
excited.
infrastructure. Yep, decentralized infrastructure. And we said this a while ago, but when you start thinking about projects ahead of time, and Tall Guy Taigu talks about this too in his marketing strategy, but getting into things so early that when it gets to the level of
Awareness in the broader market.
the watermark, right? That you actually are benefiting now, because now it's trending so much, it's watered down. That's the quickest way I can say it right now. And so DePIN is not really talked about as also real world assets, because now that the market is now retracing itself, this is a great time to look at those areas, to look at what are the top companies in real world assets, as well as DePIN. You know, for myself, I use Helium Mobile, and I must say, me basically no longer utilizing T-Mobile has cut my phone budget significantly. With T-Mobile, I used to pay about $200 a month for myself and my son, and I'm using Helium, which is a decentralized mobile network that I actually used when I was in Costa Rica as well. But I'm paying, like, it's literally $21 a month, and because I'm getting paid in mobile, which you should be getting paid your data, I literally can use my mobile to pay for my phone bill. So these are things that I'm looking at in the future to build my wealth, my son, and just to also minimize debt. Right? Minimize.
There's another company. I can't remember the name of it. I know that it's well, anyway, but it allows people who have charging stations for electronic vehicles to basically allow others to use their charging station, and they get compensated for that as well. So, you know, these are just ways. And I still need to hook up my Helium mobile phone, because my phone bill is over
DMO is another one too. If you are a driver and you drive your car, you literally can hook yourself with DMO and get paid for driving your car and accessing.
That's true, because that has to do with the mapping. That has to do with the mapping.
Yep, and get paid for that as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
it helps with the
think
mapping.
it's time to get creative. Yep, mapping as well. So, you know, we're just thinking outside the box.
That's what you're driving anyway. Okay. Exactly. So there was a conference, because we're going to wind it up here. There was a conference that took place, the Climate Week 24 or something like that. And there was also
Climate Week 2024.
Yeah.
What was the announcements? The
What were
carbon.
the major
Carbon
credit
initiative.
Yeah.
Sustainable investment.
I need to look at my coins. The deal with carbon credits, because I think I have Clima. I haven't looked at that in years.
I had Clima too. That was a project 2 years ago, decentralized, which was based on the carbon credit initiatives as well. And there's another one that's recently too, a stock in our group. We're talking about Plug, which is also something environmental friendly. What was it? Plug is about hydrogen. Let me hold on. Let me just be clear what Plug is exactly. Because I think when we start thinking outside the box and early, like if we would have thought about Apple and Google, the World Wide Web, this is another way to build your portfolio up. The company that was shared, and it's all about technology, It's also minimizing the oil, right? The gas. And so plug, hold on, I'll tell you right now. So not financial advice, it's something that peaked in one of our investment groups. So plug is one of the biggest names in the hydrogen industry.
Oh, okay.
And many investors are betting on its big upside potential. The potential is not hard to calculate given the company's paltry of 1.8 billion valuation. If demand meets expectations over the long term, expect to see some major hydrogen winners by 2050. Again, it's just cutting edge. If we move from solar panels, if we're moving from oil and gas, it's kind of like what's the next best thing?
Right. I gotta look that one up because I'm not familiar with this class. Plug. Correct?
Yeah. A big,
Okay, look
yep,
that
100%. So just things that you can research, things that's evolving. We're talking about climate change, talking about agriculture, decentralization, and agriculture is happening right now too as well. When there's shifts in our way of living and lifestyle, it's kind of like to be forward thinker. And then investing those tools or those materials, all the hypotheticals, the possibilities, right, that are occurring that we're getting in early. Because when we think about the reflection of even us, being in the age that we're in right now, I'm in my 40s. But if I reflect back to the payphone, to the smartphone, and really was thinking about intuitively, oh, I should invest in this, that's life changing. We started seeing, the 2000, 1999, and then 2000, and computers was was invented early on in the 1960s, early in that in the military. But for it to come to surface with the community, think about if understood investing in that early on, the World Wide Web. And after the World Wide Web, I mean, they're literally selling ear rights right now. So it's just, they're selling ear rights, right? So
that is true.
it's thinking, and being plugged to the right news that is going to be life changing for you, and trust in what you're hearing, right? From spirit guides, from just that intuitive gut feeling, to be honest, that it makes sense. Not the outside noise, not someone else that says you're crazy. Really, that gut feeling that is life changing. We heard so many stories that we can probably run over of people who thought about the same thing, felt the same way about Google and Apple, and it changed their life, right? Alicia,
a few people,
right? She was like Apple early on, and it changed her life. So we want to share that to you, community. We're in a time that is life changing, but you got to make that choice.
You got to do some research. Get familiar.
Do your research.
Do your research. So important. So, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing you next week on BK Crypto Echo, where we echo the sounds and voices of people in technology, cryptocurrency, blockchain, but also in health and wellness, because we are multidimensional individuals and we have more interests than just one. So, bring your friend next week. We look forward to seeing you.
Conversations